Megtooth sabers requires a lot of work on engineering, drilling, smoothing, tapping, setting, imagining, cutting, stripping, twisting, dipping, tin it, pin it, wire it, fire it, lock it, blast it, swing it, bash it. Megtooth sabers.
Greetings, Saber fans. Joel Pal Megtooth Sith. Little Proffie 3.7 action for you at the get-go. She's still working great. Too bad we can't get the chipsets in, but this thing's still working great, and it's awesome. It's a great board. I can't wait till the chip shortage is over with, so everyone can get their hands on one. This thing is still functioning awesome. It's a great Saber. So I can't see chat. I'm having some problems with my OBS tonight. For whatever reason, it's not showing me the chat, and I'm trying to refresh it, so I have to switch over to YouTube to see it. But I see we got Max, Cole, and Kendall Hall, sorry. And Cole posted his Saber that he installed last week, and Max had a question last week, and I think I answered it for him successfully. I don't know. Max didn't get back to me on whether or not what I told him to do worked. But it was cool seeing Cole's Saber there on the groups. That was pretty awesome to see, one of our regular listeners post their video. It's great stuff. But at any rate, what I wanted to do was get back to where we were. So last week we're installing this Saber, which, of course it looks like a mess like all my installs initially do. It looks crazy. You got wires all over the place, but we're going to turn this nice and neat where all you see is a little Proffie board right there and nice neat wires, and you won't see any of that insanity. And it'll all work. The NeoPixel crystal chamber will light up, and this will light up, and the blade will light up, and it'll be awesome. It'll be doing awesome stuff. Let me see if anybody's got any questions before we go into the scope. I don't see anybody with any questions, so we're pretty good. So I think we'll just move the camera over here and get on to what we're doing. I'll try and keep my eye on the chat. I'm going to have to go back and forth because the chat's not showing on my screen. I didn't capture that until it was too late. Stand by. I don't know. Oh, there it goes. Oh, I got the chat. Sweet. I think it was just scrolled down or something. So that's awesome. Oh, stand by. Hang on a minute. I'm going to try something else because that was, I don't know if that was last week's chat or what. Cole is on there. Hang on a second. I'm trying to get the chat box open because while we're soldering, it'll help if I can, see if y'all are asking any questions. Oh, thank you, Cole. I haven't tried it yet. Max, you're such a procrastinator. Just do it. Yeah, well, sweet, Cole. That's awesome. So we're going to kind of continue with that accent pixel tonight and give you some other tips that, I still have. So he needs to clean his workbench. Max. At any rate, let's move the camera, shall we? So let's go. This is going to be ugly while I move this camera. Y'all just bear with me. Whoa, here you guys come. We're off on a journey. We're on a secret journey. And let's get the lights on. And we're coming back to the Saber. So this is the Saber. The big thing we got going on, let me try to level out this thing here. The big thing we got going on tonight is we need to merge. We're going to take this positive line. This is my NeoPixel positive line. I probably need to tape these wires out of the way. Let's see how. Let's get some painter's tape. Hey, Kybertech Sabers. Good to see you on here. Let's tape some of these wires out of the way that we don't need, shall we? So I'm going to tape, you know, all these. I think I'll tape my switch wires out of the way too, although I should tape those the other way. But just stand by one. I'll show you what I'm doing here. I'm just getting all the wires we don't need kind of out of the way so you can kind of focus on what the main issue is here, which is the red wires. And also I didn't do something to the accent pixel because I'm kind of busy this weekend with chores around the house, but I'll kind of show y'all. I'm kind of glad I didn't put the pixel in anyway that we made last week, because we have something to do with it. So here's the bottom line. Let me get the soldering iron up and running here. I can't believe I didn't do that before. So we've got this red wire, which comes from our NeoPixel. So it's coming from the NeoPixel adapter. This is our main positive feed for the NeoPixel adapter. This red wire is coming from the positive on the battery to the positive on our recharge port, our 2.1 millimeter recharge port right there, which I got a kill key in it because we don't want to work with a live battery. So kind of what we're going to do this week is kind of what Max is dealing with right now. I'm going to merge this NeoPixel wire with the positive coming off the recharge port. And I'm going to take the positive coming off the battery and I'm going to merge it with two things. Number one, I'm going to merge it with the positive wire from our little single accent NeoPixel we made last week. So the red wire on this NeoPixel, which I still have to desolder from our test plug. And so my NeoPixel accent positive is going to be here, but we're also going to strip a little bit of this 26 gauge red wire and we're going to put it in there. So I'm going to have 3 wires on this one merge on this side. So I'm going to have our NeoPixel positive, our pigtail that's going to feed the board, and the positive from the battery. They're going to be twisted together and soldered. And then I'm going to have our positive coming off the recharge port and our positive from the NeoPixels. They will be soldered together here, and then I'm going to join all of those together into one positive merge. So that's kind of what's going on here. Can you daisy chain accent pixels on same wires in different parts of the hilt and treat them as the same blade? You can, Cole. You can do that. You can run one continuous. The thing is, you have to use the data out on the NeoPixel. And the way I wired this, you wouldn't have that. So, you know, how we cut this pixel, I cut the next, the data line off. But, you know, you could still run your data line continuous off this data line to your next pixel, and that would work just fine too. Or you could pick it up on the next pad and run it out. Like you'd use this pad on the other side of the pixel as a data out as well. But you could also, I think so. I'm not 100% sure on that. I've never run them daisy chain like that. But I think that would work if you ran data out. But the thing is, Matt, is Cole, you got to be careful that you're using the same kind of pixels in your daisy chain. So, you know, if your main blade is like, hang on a minute here. Let me get some 50-50s. So here's some 50-50s, and I know these things are whoppers compared to the 35-35s. But if you're using 50-50s in your blade and you're going to daisy chain them together, I would just be careful to make sure that you're daisy chaining the same type of NeoPixels together. I haven't tried mix and matching NeoPixels, and I'm not sure that that works. You know, some of these are SK6812s, and these are WS2811s. And I'm just not so sure they're going to communicate the same and transmit the signals the same. So I would just make sure if you're daisy chaining, number one, you got to make sure you're paying attention to the arrows, and you would put your data in here, but you could also put your data out there and just run that to your next, to your next pixel, to the data on your next pixel. But I think you could do that. I think it would work just fine. So one big thing that I haven't showed you, so this is our single pixel from last week. And I don't know here, what's it doing? Trying to get it where it's in focus. And basically, the one thing that's, worrisome about this Saber is this pixel is actually going to be going into the Saber and touching metal. So then you have the possibility of a short between these pads, between positive and negative. And, you know, if metal touches this resistor, that could be bad. So before I shove this into the hole, probably what I'm going to do is insulate this with E6000 or hot glue to insulate these pads. And I'm not talking gobs. I'm talking very little bit of hot glue or E6000 just to cover those pads so that this is all insulated before I put this into the hole in the crystal chamber. And I did not do that, but I don't know if y'all can see that hole where the crystal chamber is down there, but it goes, this pixel is going to go down in there. Now I haven't secured the pixel yet permanently, and I'm kind of glad because I could show y'all and make sure to remind y'all about you know, making sure that you don't that you protect these pads and insulate them from touching the metal hilt, because this is going to affix right into the hole on the metal, and so it's going to be contacting metal, so you want to protect against shorts. And I'll do that when I do the final install. But let me go ahead and desolder this test plug that we put on there last week. I kind of left everything at the same place we were last week. I didn't have much of a chance to do anything else, or else I would have glued this pixel in. But we're going to pretend this pixel is already glued in place, so I'm going to get it about where we need it, because I need to get the red wire out of this bundle, because we're going to be soldering that red wire on. So it looks like I need to get it back to about right there. So again, you know, I said when we were wiring up this pixel I probably used too much wire, and I did. But now I've got my red wire out of here, and I can tape those other wires back as well, the orange and black, which were my data and negative for that one. And we're going to work on the config file tonight, so hopefully you'll be able to see some more of my insanity. So now what I'm hoping is we have enough slack in this red wire where we can pull this off tonight. I think I left enough slack to do it, but you know, we're about to find out. So I'm going to find a good place for this merge where I can shove it down in there, and I think we're going to try her right about there. So the first thing I'm going to do for this merge is I'm going to, and if I don't have enough wire, you know, we'll still be able to work this out, because I'll just solder a new red wire onto the recharge port. And I'm going to leave some extra on this just in case we have to do that. So I am going to leave this NeoPixel positive wire long, because I don't want to have to go back in there and unassemble all that. So it will be a little bit long, but I'll be able to tuck all that stuff in there. I'm going to strip that back. Hey, chat. I could heat shrink that NeoPixel, Cole, but I think I'm just going to use hot goo. Just as long as you use something that's going to insulate it. I suppose you could heat shrink it, but I think the biggest worry when you're heat shrinking is that, you know, that you're going to cover the pixel up. That would be my biggest worry. All right, so I've got our first two twisted together there, and I'm going to put a little bit of flux on there. Actually, that got a lot of flux. Looks like a big old fluxing mess. Big old fluxing mess. Happy Bone. Sweet. Good to see you, man. Yeah, it's been a while since you've been on the stream, but thanks for joining in tonight. So we're doing preparations for an install on a Proffie 2.2, and I know that Proffie 2.2s are hard to find right now, but here's a little secret for those of y'all that don't know. KR restocked today, but I bet he's already sold out, but he did restock today. Okay, now I know I'm going to need about that much wire on my accent pixel. So this is the 30 gauge accent pixel wire. I'm going to go ahead and cut it, and I'm going to strip some off of that. This is 30. Remember, I used 30 for the accent pixel because, you know, one pixel, it ain't carrying a whole hell of a lot of amp load. And then this is the battery positive direct, so I'm going to strip this. This is 22. Bam. Just like that. And I'm going to twist these two wires together, and then I'm going to have to add in my final pigtail wire. So I'm going to show y'all why I do this on the diagram. And this isn't the only way to do this. There's several ways to deal with all the positive lines. But to me, this is, you know, and of course the 30 gauge always wants to be a bitch. So stand by. Let me separate some of these strands because 30 wants to misbehave as usual. 30 is so thin, it's hard to get it. So sometimes I put my needle nose. My needle nose have some serrated edges on them. And sometimes by using those serrations, I can get the 30 to take a twist. Now, I'm going to take this pigtail. This is just a piece of red 26 wire. And I call it a pigtail because it's going to be included in this positive joint. It's going to be included in this positive joint. And this wire will actually be the positive going to my Proffie board. That's why it's called a pigtail, because we're leaving an end of it loose that we're eventually going to connect into the Proffie board to be our main positive. So now, those 3 wires, my accent NeoPixel for the crystal chamber, my main battery positive feed, and my pigtail are all joined. And now we're going to solder them. And making sure that solder flows into that wire nice and good. Now, we need some heat shrinkage. Heat shrinkage, trying to keep up with y'all's questions. Yeah, KR Saber's definitely restocked on some Proffies today. They only have the black ones. Yeah, 30 gauge is a pain in the butt. I actually have a dark Saber that was from Solo's Hold. Evan Roseman, Solo's Hold, actually designed a blade. There's video of it on my channel, and I installed it. And I do have one that I'm going to be selling, but you know, I got to finish all these installs that are pending on my bench first. So I'm putting heat shrink over those positive lines. Now let me see if they're going to reach each other, and they are. So sweet. That's always good news when they're going to reach each other. But now I want to get that heat shrink further away from our joint. This is where helping hands would really, really come in handy. But I may try to do this by hand, but it's going to be hot. Trying to make sure that I have this on camera, so stand by. Let's zoom in here a little bit. And you can see there is my joint. And I'm going to butter up my iron here with a little bit of solder. And we're going to hold this joint together. And we're going to make them one. They moved a little bit on me. Stand by. Because my hands got hot and I had to let it go, and then it moved on me. This is why helping hands work, because holding these hot wires, you know, once you start soldering these big joints like this. Woo! That's hot. Damn. Damn hot. Okay. So there's that joint, and now we're going to slide our heat shrinkage up over that joint. And that heat shrink might not be big enough. Oop. Maybe she's going to make it. Maybe not. Okay. So that's no good. So let's do this. This is the cool thing about soldering, is you can undo them just that easy when you solder like that. And let's get a bigger piece of heat shrink. So that heat shrink is not going to go over that joint. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut a smaller piece of that should cover the joint, and then I'm going to cut a little bit bigger of a piece to go over the whole joint. Okay, let's try this again. So I'm going to put this smaller piece that will go over the initial joint, and then this bigger piece which will go over the whole thing. I wonder if I could get that bigger piece on this bigger joint. Yeah. Always trimming, always trimming. Always in motion, the future is. Yeah. Never his mind on where he was, what he was doing, Adventure, excitement. A Jedi craves not these things. You are reckless. He's too old, much too old to begin the training. Alright. Let's try this disaster again. Trying to find a good place to join them. Alright. Hopefully that's in frame so you guys can watch this disaster happening. I really need helping hands in here, but it's going to be hard for me to get helping hands up in here because of the camera thing. French fried fingers. That's exactly right. That's exactly what we're doing here. Cole's getting his steps in, and Tom's trying to French fry his fingers. Adventure. Excitement. Now I know that looks crazy because that's like a lot of stuff there. But this merge, we're going to shove it down in there. This merge isn't moving back and forth. It's going to be solid there. And these merges are just fine. Now, we're sliding our shrink wraps over the merge. And there's actually two pieces of shrink here. And I'm going to try to get them both as far as I can. And then we're going to shrinky, shrinky, winky, winky, shrinky, shrinky. Okay, now I want all these out of the way. So I'm going to push this merge down while it's hot, including that positive wire that we left probably too much, but we're just leaving enough in case we screwed up. But I definitely want to push this wire down there around our stuff. Just like that. So this is the positive wire that's going to, let me back out of here because I'm zoomed in. Basically what we've done is we've merged all our positives down here. And so we've got the positive from the recharge port, the positive from our NeoPixel adapter, the positive from our accent pixel, the positive which is going to feed the Proffie, and the positive from our battery. All merged together in one junction. One foul swoop. So, and our merge will live down in there, way down below the Proffie board. And the only thing we got going on the Proffie board is this one wire. This one wire feeds everything positive. But the amp load is going to be in this joint for the main blade and for the NeoPixels and everything else. The only thing this feeds is the Proffie board. And remember, the Proffie board, you know, it's like, I don't know, not even half an amp. It doesn't draw anything. It's just not drawing electricity. Let's see if anybody's got any questions. Yeah, that wasn't the greatest joint in the world, but we're live. It's a lot better when I have helping hands. Is this an MHS hilt? No. This is not an MHS hilt. This is actually a Gary Morris samurai type hilt. And this was a very custom saber from Gary Morris. It's a pretty awesome little saber action going on here. Oh, hang on a minute. I need a drinky. And no, it's not alcohol. It's Coca-Cola. Like, I don't need any caffeine, but we're getting ready to go to the keyboard. So what I got to do remaining before we put the soundboard in is I'm going to actually put some plastic strapping across here that's going to hold my my Proffie board. And I have a plastic 3D printed Proffie board holder that's going to go onto those plastic spacers. So basically what will happen is I'll feed the wires, all of our wires that we need for the Saber install, up through that plastic, and then we'll install the wires hopefully next week. And then we'll put the Proffie board into its 3D holder, and then I'll E6000 it into the plastic straps I got going across here. And this goes inside the hilt. It's, you'll never see it. It'll be fine. It'll be cool. But basically, that's the positive merges for tonight. So the only thing I have to do, which I may not show you guys, is I have to deal with this. I have to deal with the insulating that pixel before I glue it, so it's illuminating the crystal chamber. And then I got to go ahead and glue it back there. And I'll probably do that, without you guys, because I'm using E6000, and that usually takes 24 hours to set up. But basically, I'll jam it in there with E6000 and tape it in there, somehow secure it in there so it's illuminating the pixel, and then pray that it works. But that's why we tested it last week. So hopefully it works just fine, because it worked when we tested it last week. But now let me turn off these, because now we're going to get onto the computer and we'll show you some stuff on the computer. So let's see here. What do I need to do? Number one, I need to share the screen, and I'm going to do it without, let's see, Windows share. And let's see here. I didn't see Windows. There it is. Now Windows Share is working. All right. So we're on Windows Share, and let me go along with no peek, because I want to make sure that I'm not hiding anything that we see. All right. So now we're going into Google. I'm hoping you guys can see this. And we're going to search Google for Proffie board. Enter. 2 men enter. 1 man leave. And while we're on screen share, I'm going to move my camera. Apparently, Google is slow tonight. Really slow. Oh, here it comes. She decided she wanted to work now, right? I don't know what's going on with my internet. Y'all know I'm always having problems with the internet. Alright. So this Saber is going to get a Proffie board V2. So I'm going to go to this website that I got on Google. Proffie board V2. Good Lord, why is this so slow? This is like painful. You guys are like, Megtooth sit needs new internet. I bet it's my computer, because my computer was turned off, and I think it installed updates again. All right. So now we're on the Proffie board V2 page, which is still loading. So apparently we're going to be waiting while it loads, or not. What's going on with my internet? Uh-oh. Slowly dying. Everything's dying. Something's going on with my computer. Yeah. I can't tell what's going on. I don't even know if you guys still have me. Hello? I know we're going to end that. Snaz is bugging us. Ah. Yeah. If I reboot, I'm going to lose the stream. Okay, I think I got it. So I had a program that was eating up my memory, and I've killed it. So hopefully that'll do it. All right. Awesome. So sorry about that, guys. Now let's go back to what we were doing here on the Proffie Board V2 website. So if you scroll down, and for those of y'all that haven't watched any videos about Proffie, and I know most of you guys understand this, but for those that don't, when you go to this Proffie Board webpage, and this is for Proffie Board V2, there's also another page for V1. There's another page in the works for Proffie 3.7, but we're not going to bother with that tonight. What we're going to do is we're going to begin making our configuration file, which is down here in this box. But we have to say what we have on our Saber. So let's say I've got a main blade, NeoPixel. Let's say it's dual, and the dual is going to represent the Shtok crystal chamber, or the Shtok accents on my. And then let's say we have a NeoPixel crystal chamber too, because that's kind of what we have. Now, this is going to be our main blade that's on FETs 2 and 3. Never mind the negative wire here, because it's not going to go to 4 and 5. This is going to be our Shtok connector, this second blade, but it is going to use data 2. And then our crystal chamber, we're going to have it running on data 3, I think it is. Let's see here. Let's look at the wiring diagram. Data 4. That's putting us on data 4. I don't know why I did that, but whatever. But our main blade here is on data 1. Now, this resistor, and Cole asked about this last week, this is actually in the Shtok connector, and I'll show you that here in a second. And this resistor, I didn't add one. Now, you can run these unresisted, but I'm probably going to zap a 470 ohm resistor in our line for this would be our crystal chamber accent pixel that we cut out. So I'm probably going to add a 470 ohm resistor into that line because there's not one. But the Shtok connector and the main blade won't need it. So once we do all that, we have our basic configuration file. And the important thing on the config file is, and I got 2 momentary buttons, no Bluetooth, none of that crap. And I do have a recharge port. So let me show you what we did tonight. So here's our positive NeoPixel line coming out of our main blade, positive recharge port, positive battery, positive from our NeoPixel accents, and they all merge. And then our pigtail is this wire that goes to the Proffie board. Now you could do this a gazillion ways to Sunday. The way I do it is I merge wires on one side, merge wires on the other side, and then put them together. But I add a pigtail that's going to run up to the board. And that way I just have one single wire that runs positive into the Proffie board. In a circuit, the power runs from negative and then through all the components, and then it comes back through the positive line back into the board. So that's the flow of electricity. It goes positive through the load, negative through the load, and then back through the positive, back into the Proffie board. So this positive line isn't carrying a significant of an electrical load as the negative line coming from your battery. The negative line coming from the cutoff leg on the recharge port is carrying a significant load. And you see our ground wire, common ground to both switches. When I say common, I mean the wires are going to the same place. Now you can combine these wires wherever, and if y'all remember from video number 2 of this series, instead of me wiring 2 wires off our switch legs, I just twisted the switch legs together, soldered them together, and ran 1 wire off. So that was my common ground. It didn't matter if you join them outside or on the switches, it just doesn't matter. But then your switch wires, go here and here. This is your main switch on Proffie 2.2, and this is your aux switch, but if you reverse them, we can switch it in the config. But the cool part is now we have a basic config file. And I'm going to have to make some changes to this, which are important for you guys to see my changes. Hello. So there's my config file. Now I'm going to copy that, and I'm going to open a notepad document, and then I'm going to paste this bad boy. And then I'm going to reformat all this. You guys know, because this drives me crazy. But off we go. I'm going to reformat that and adjust the line spacing to 1 and take out the 10 spaces, and bada bing. Now, I have some shared power pins, and I need to go number sign, define, shared, I believe it's underscore power pins. And I don't remember if it's underscore power pins or what. Let me go look at, what was the last config that I did? Oh, you know what? My beta, my Proffie beta Saber. If I go to my config files, beta 3, this one has shared power pins. Shared underscore power underscore pins. So, shared underscore power underscore pins. And when I say shared power pins, let me go back to the website and I'm going to show you. So if you'll remember on the wiring diagram, I told you it's not entirely accurate because this is representing my Shtok connector, which is 16 neopixels. And the negative is not going to FETs 4 and 5 like you see it in the diagram, because the negative is shared on the main blade feed. So it's using FETs 2 and 3 for these accent pixels. So it shares power pins with the main blade. So that's why I had to define shared power pins. But now I also have to go down here into our blade defines, and I'll show you. So they have 4 and 5 here on this second blade, which is 144 pixels. So, number one, this is my first blade. This is my main blade. It's neopixels, 144 pixels in the blade. This is where you adjust your blade length. You don't want to adjust your blade length up here. Leave this at 144. There's some rare circumstances where you don't want it there, but this is the one you adjust your blade length with, down at the bottom of the config. Most of my blades are around 130, so I'm going to leave it there. So our main blade is neopixel, 130 pixels. It's on blade pin, which this is data 1. And there's the color order GRB, which they should be GRB. And then blade power pins 2 and 3. That means it hooks onto LED 2 and 3 on the wiring diagram like we showed you earlier. Let's go back and look at the wiring diagram. So you can see this is our main blade, and the negative hooks onto LED 2 and 3, which you can see right here. I know those are 2 and 3, but if you're ever confused, you can come up here. You can see this is LED 2 and this is LED 3. So LED 2 and 3 are powering our main blade, but they're also powering our Shtok connector with 16 pixels. So now we're going to go back to our config file, and we're going to change this 144 to 16 because that's how many pixels are on that. We are going to use data 2. Color is GRB. Power pins are going to be 2 and 3, which are the same as our main blade, and that's why we had to define shared power pins. Now I can use power pin 4 for this blade, which is going to be our neopixel accent, and it's only one LED. And let's say I want it on data 3 because I don't want it on data 4. I can just change it to blade 3 pin, which is data 3. And then bada bing. Now I have my basic config for this Saber ready to go. So what I'll do in the interim, because I want to get back to chat with you guys, is I'll go and swap out these blade styles. And for the new viewers that are watching, because we're writing a config file for our Saber, there is a preset. So preset starts in this bracket, and then what's in quotes is the font name on the SD card that it looks for, Teen CSF in this instance, and then comma, and then you have a tracks folder, and within that tracks folder there's a wave called Venus Wave if you have the default sound fonts. And then you have your 3 blade styles. The first one is for your main blade, the second one is for the Shtok pixels in the connector, and the third one is for our crystal chamber. And then this little bit in quotes is what would display in an OLED if you had one, and then that ends your first preset. And then this would be the second preset. And this would be the third preset. So what I'm going to do in this week is I'm actually going to put, modern, real FET263 blade styles in here in this section, and the fonts that I'm going to use on Tony's Saber. So that's kind of my plans for that. So I'm going to... let's see here. All right. Let's go back to the camera situation, because I want to show you guys a Shtok connector. And I thought I had one here somewhere. I do. Let me get this bad boy out, because this one's getting ready to go on another Saber that I'm working on. But let me get the camera back over here first. You guys don't want to see that nonsense. And we'll get it zoomed in here where you guys can see it. Okay. So y'all stand by a second. Bam. All right. So this is a Shtok connector, and this is what's in the head of this lightsaber. And I don't know if you guys can see, but there are 16 neopixels that radiate out between the pins that actually make contact with the blade. And let me show you what the pins are, because I know some people don't know. This center pin is your neopixel data. This first ring outside of the data pin is your negatives, and they're all common to each other. And then the outside pins are your positives. So you can see you have more 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 negatives and 1, 2, 3, 4 positives. Because remember, we were talking earlier how electricity flows. It goes to the blade from the negatives, but returns through the positives. So there won't be as many amps needing to return through the positive, because a lot of it was scrubbed off, as it were, by the blade when it powered up the blade. So there's not as much power returning as there was, because some of it got, turned into light, something like that. So let's flip this puppy over. So the resistors you saw in my accent pixels on the Shtok connector, it's already on board. So you can see this. That's 331 ohms, 331 ohms. We actually removed this one because the connector was in V4. And I think I showed us wiring this one, and I don't know if that was in video 1 or what. I think it was. But at any rate, we removed this resistor because I wired it in V4. And then my second data line for the Shtok pixels, which is the brown wire, was attached here. My main data wire, which was purple, was attached to the center pin, and then I had one single 22 gauge black coming off this negative pin and one single 22 gauge red coming off this pin. So I had four wires, 1, 2, 3, 4 wires coming off of this connector, and I don't need the resistor you saw in the diagram because it's already on board the connector. Now, I'm not running my main data through a resistor either, but all the blades that I built, I actually put I put an SMD resistor in my blades. So I'll build a blade for Tony for this. In fact, I've already built Tony's blade for this Saber, and he doesn't need a resistor because the resistor is on board the blade. But this is the Shtok NeoPixel connector, the same one that's inside the Saber we've been working on. So let's go back to the diagram. Let's go back to Windows Share, and let's go back to the diagram. So this is the resistor we're talking about, because remember we said this string of pixels represents the Shtok onboard pixels, so there's actually 16 pixels here. And it shows, hey, that needs a resistor on it. Well, it does. Remember, that one's on board the Shtok connector. Now, the one place we do need a resistor is here, which I'm going to show you that here in a second. So let me get this back in frame, and let's get you all back on this camera. Bam. Okay, so this series of wires here, this red, orange, and the black here that are twisted together. The orange is our data wire for this accent pixel, which is going to be, this is what's going to be lighting up the crystal chamber. So I do need to put a 470 ohm resistor in line on this orange line, and that's what I'm going to do. I'll add a resistor here. Maybe I'll show doing that next week, but the actual, I'll have the NeoPixel already affixed inside the Saber, but maybe we'll save that for next week, adding the 470 ohm resistor, because I hadn't planned on doing that tonight. But that is what we have when we get back to our diagram. Is this is, oh, I'm sorry, that resistor is on the Shtok connector, but this resistor, which is the data line resistor for our accent pixel that's lighting the crystal chamber, it does need a resistor. Now, a lot of people ask, because on Proffie board 2.2, the data line, data 1, is pre-resistored. It has an onboard resistor already right here, 330 ohm. And a lot of people ask, well, what if my blade has a resistor in it too? It's okay. We can actually combine, resistors on the data line. I think, pardon me, Frederick's tested it up to like 2,000 ohms and the data lines still work fine. So if you have a 500 ohm resistor and a 500 ohm resistor, you know, your data is still going to make it through. So that's that. Now, let's go back to this. Oh, that's ugly. Zoomed in or something. Whoa! Look at that ugly birthmark on the side of my head. And let me kill these lights in the background. So that's that. So this is the Saber we're working on. You can see all the wires there. It'll be ugly. We'll take, once I get the stuff glued in here for the soundboard, we'll be golden. We'll add this resistor next week. And we started making the config file. I know most of the viewers that tune in here on Mondays probably are already making your own config files. So I always try to put a little bit of config file making to show you how simple it is in these videos. But you know, you got to see the opening of me making the config file. And I'll work on the blade styles and fonts and everything this week. So hopefully by the time we tune on next week, I'll already have the Proffie programmed, because I want to be able to, when I install it, I want to be able to go ahead and fire it and make sure everything works. So that's going to be the mission. Yeah, Proffie board V3. Damn thing still works. And gotta love this thing. I like the V3 too. I can't wait until these can get released into manufacture. And I know a lot of people ask me, and we, oh yeah.
Now this Luke Skywalker. What is it?
Smooth. It's the test font. Preon, stand by for ignition. Out, 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 out. Swing high, swing low, swing low, swing, 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 clash, 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 in, post off. Well, that was fun.
But yeah, I mean, this 3.7 Saber is pretty awesome. Mine's still running fine. Everything I've seen from Frederick on the Crucible about the 3.7s is that the beta testing has gone well. My beta testing went really well. We found one glitch on one of the data lines on the board, but Frederick already fixed it. It was a software error, and everything else is working great on it. Lots more memory, a lot faster SD card read speed, and onboard charging through the USB. So there's a lot to like about the 3.7. That's a really cool board. So I think, you know, I don't want to go too much longer tonight because I really didn't have a whole lot else planned for tonight, because it's been, you know, last couple of weeks of work has been tough, but I've been able to come back on with y'all on Mondays. And Tim Olson says he's got a hilt set aside specifically for Proffie 3.7. Yeah, well, I've got 4. I have two Kylo Ren hilts. One of them that I need to send to Cole when I install it because it's his anyway. And then he can do what he wants with it because he did me a big. And the other one is my personal Kylo Ren hilt. And then I have two of the Dark Sabers from Solo's Hold, which I'm going to put the Proffie 3.7 in. OS 6, there hadn't been a lot of movement on it, you know, Max. I think there's a lot going on behind the scenes on OS 6. There's a lot of alpha and pre-alpha discussion. And I know that Brian and especially Fernando and Frederick have all been busy in GitHub, which GitHub is like the, you know, if you think the Crucible is for nerds, GitHub is for like nerds that speak computer language, which ain't me. I don't write code. Sweet. Did it work, Cole? Did it work like I showed you with the continuity and everything? When you depress the switch, you hear the tone. That's always nice to know stuff works. You know, this is a great tool for building sabers. It is so awesome. Oh, dang it, Cole. Well, I'd planned on installing that one and sending it to you because it's your saber anyway. As just a favor for doing me a good one on that hilt anyway. So, you know, it's up to you. But I actually did get hold of one. So, you know, when I go to install those with Proffie 3.7, if you want that one, that's yours. I'll send it right back at you. But at any rate, you know, I have, you know, definitely 4 sabers that are awaiting Proffie 3.7. You know, the really depressing part is on the Mentor Graflex, you know, that was installed with Proffie 2.2, and now I'm thinking I might need to take all that apart and put 3.7 in there because that saber is just so awesome. But you know what? The 2.2 is just fine in that one. I still got sabers over here running Igniter. You know, there's no difference. Yeah, well, I have to do some crazy stuff like that too, Cole, with the multimeter. Sometimes you just don't have enough hands. This is like watching Forrest Gump. Sometimes there just aren't enough rocks. And, yeah. It's like that when you're building sabers, too. You saw some of that tonight. You know, I mean, the tripod is there, and, you know, the tripod's in the way. There's no room for helping hands, so you just got to burn your fingers for the sake of the hobby. Burn your fingers for everyone else so they can see how it goes together. But with helping hands, you know, those joints are a lot neater, cleaner, and easier to do. But, you know, that joint's just fine. But, yeah, so I am excited for Proffie 3.7s to come out. But, you know, y'all, the world is a mess right now. You know, car manufacturers, there's no cars. Like here where I live, my son's car got totaled in Myrtle Beach about a month ago. He was in an accident, not his fault, and the drunk driver hit him. And his baby, my granddaughter, was in the car too. So thankfully they're okay. But the car was totaled. And, you know, they got the check from the insurance company. Pardon me. And they went to go get a new car, and there's no cars anywhere. All the car lots are empty. I do have the helping hands with 6 arms, Kim. And hopefully I can get that message to you this week, Kim. Because I'll have to message you, PM you, DM you, whatever the modern word you kids are using. DM is a direct messaging. I think that's what everyone else is saying now. Yeah, Tim, everything's going good. I haven't found any Megtooth yet this summer. Most of my Megtooth diving I do in the fall, Tim. So probably in September, October, November, I'll be out scuba diving for Megalodon teeth, I hope. But, you know, I got a big day coming up in October. Me and the Jenaroo got a big day. So hopefully I'll get to scuba dive either before or after me and Jenaroo's big day, which is pretty exciting. I don't even know if I've shared that on here. But yeah, me and Jenaroo are making it official, tying the knot, making it happen. And, you know, that'll be good stuff for me and Jen. But, you know, things are going good here. I just the car shortage it's the same reason we can't get Proffie boards. And like I've got, I think 4 or 5 CFX here, and I was thinking about putting those to market because those could basically fund this install for Tony because those are his boards. But I may sell them, and then he's even Steven on this install here. Thanks, everybody. I don't think I'd unzipped that one before on a Monday night. But yeah, a couple of weeks ago, we decided on the date, and we're making it happen. You know, we were kind of waiting on COVID to subside. My video is going to get red flagged because I said the C word. But I was waiting for all that to subside so we could have maybe a normal a normal honeymoon. But it's not looking like nobody's going to be able to have a normal anything anytime soon. And we'll figure something out. Thanks, Chet. Thanks, everybody. Thanks, Blues Brothers, Max, Kybertech, Kim, Kendall Hall. It's awesome. You know, I'm damn happy. Jennaru brings me a lot of happiness, so it's definitely been good having her in my life because it makes me look forward to coming home from work and having peace and tranquility on the home front and love. So that's definitely awesome, especially you know, with my day job, which has been very difficult. That was the reason we had like 2 weeks there with no Monday Live videos, is my day job got really bad. So y'all know if I'm not on Monday Live videos, then, you know, things are kind of bad at work because it, you know, it takes quite a lot. I mean, I can't, the only reason I'm not going to go live is because I'm not home. But if I'm home on a Monday night, we're going live. So, oh yeah, they got him. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, Jen and I are both vaccinated because my dad has a really bad condition with COPD end stage, and Jen's mom has, you know, she's battling cancer. So, you know, we both got vaccinated to protect, you know, my dad and her mom, irregardless of how you feel about all that. You know, I don't want to get into a political discussion on here, but, you know, we got vaccinated pretty early on. But I know not everybody's into vaccinations, but I don't even want to talk about that. We're not supposed to be talking about COVID or politics on my live streams. Y'all are going to get me there. Yeah, Tim, I we'll be safe, and, you know, hope we might have to come to your island because if everywhere else is closed, we can go up there to the Chesapeake Bay and hang out with Tim and find some points. That would be awesome. Yeah, Chet, any time that I'm gone for 2 weeks like that, it's just things aren't good on the home front with work. Not at home, at work. And, you know, 3.5 more years of that, or maybe if the North Carolina General Assembly passes a bill that's pending in the Senate right now, I might be out of there. Did you do that recently, Happy Bone? Because my email inbox is kind of like blown up. If you did, resend it again, and I'll check it, because email has been tough. There's like I'm getting a gazillion emails a day. But what email address did it come from so I can look for it? That way you might not have to resend it. But, you know, I'll go check. Typically I answer Lightsaber emails, but it could have been something I missed. Okay. Roger that, Happy Bone. Well, I'll check it, and I'll try to get back to you on email. Max, stop procrastinating. Do that junction. Put your positives together like I showed you in the video, and build that Saber. We want to see it up and running. Cole got his Saber up and running. You know, Kim Kanama's got some awesome Sabers always flying, and Kim's got great, really cool PCBs that he's designed. If y'all don't know who Kim is, Kim's like a genius when it comes to that stuff. And I know I use a lot of factory stuff in these, and it's mainly because I haven't really tested a bunch of the other stuff over the long run, including, you know, Kim Kanama's. But I need to order a bunch of Kim's sets, but also you got to build his. And I'm not that good at, you know, I'm not that good at hot air rework and frying pan method and all that stuff. So that's something that I need to work on to get better at that. But then I can run Kim stuff. That's like a whole nother hobby, getting to know what Kim does. That's kind of like 3D printing. You know, you buy a 3D printer, that's like a whole nother hobby. And the next thing you know, you wanted to make a lightsaber chassis, and you're 3D printing helmets and crazy stuff like all the guys on Universal are doing. But yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, KR's Leia Saber was really pretty. You know, I don't know how. I'm pretty, you know, all Cal stuff is way better than, you know, the Chinese stuff that's out there. But y'all know I built that that Leia Saber for Ella right before Christmas, and that was an LGT, and I bought it empty, and you know, I thought the LGT with the upgraded mother of pearl inlay was a really pretty saber. That saber still is pretty. It's a fingerprint magnet, but yeah. Well, that's cool. I mean, Kim, I didn't make the Leia saber for me. I made it for Ella. So that's Ella's saber. But yeah, it's 9:30, and y'all know Jeff would not want us to stay on longer than 1 hour because that is our time limit. So since we're talking about Jeff, let's go hashtag nerd up, and everybody be nice to one another, help one another out, keep this community tight knit. Roger that, Tim. And you know, thank you everybody for joining in tonight, as always, and hopefully Max got something from this, because tonight's live was really for Max, because I showed him, like, I videotaped my fingers, like how he should do that joint. And Max was probably like, what's the matter with him? But tonight you got to see it in real life. Build that saber, Max. Build that saber. Make it happen. If I can do it, you can do it. And everybody else, hashtag nerd up. And yeah, Happy Bone. You got that to build a chassis, and then you're going to be printing everything else. But everybody, hashtag nerd up. And that means be nice to each other. Try not to post nasty stuff on Facebook and YouTube. Don't be like one of those people. And try to help each other out in the Saber community as best you can. You know, every now and then some of us may slip. But the harder we try to live up to, you know, to Birchie's golden rule, the better. And hopefully everybody gets a good productive week building lightsabers. And until next time, we'll see you next week, where we'll finish the install, hopefully, on this saber. So thank you everybody for tuning in, and we will see you all next week. Same bat time, same bat channel. May the force be with you, or the dark side, as it were. We'll see y'all next week.
Thank you everybody for watching, as usual. I really appreciate y'all tuning in on my channel. And as always,